Thanks for joining us for the final episode of Season 5 of the Hospitality Hangout, hospitality-focused podcast where the founders of Branded Strategic share their insights and bring technology and innovation leaders are making things happen in the industry we love. My name is Jimmy Frischling, otherwise known as the Finance Guy. I'd like to introduce my partner, Mr. Michael Schatzberg, also known as the Restaurant Guy.
Thanks for that introduction, Jimmy. And to all those listening, feel free to call me Shatsy. Together, we are the personalities behind Branded Strategic Hospitality. We work at the intersection of hospitality, technology, innovation, and capital. Jimmy, we had a great show, and I got to tell you, I cannot believe that it is the end of, what season was it again, Jimmy?
Season 5.
Oh, and they said it wouldn't last. I mean, I got to tell you, we're going to have more seasons than Seinfeld pretty soon, aren't we? Which is really exciting because then we get syndication and all that kind of stuff. And that's where the big money comes in, by the way, Jimmy. That's what I
want to know if we're getting 5-year jackets. That's what I want to know. Do we get 5-year jackets?
Oh, of course we're getting 5-year jackets,
nice.
Jimmy.
Nice.
But listen, before we get into it, we got a great show. I just wanted to tell everybody about something that's been on my mind for the last couple of days as we head into the holidays. I got to tell you, Jimmy, I've been thinking about the marketplace a little bit, and it's the branded marketplace. Do you know about this?
I please tell me more, because I actually thought you were going to bring up the whole how much oil will last for Hanukkah in 8 days. But now that I know that that's not what's on your mind, please tell me.
Yeah,
what's on your mind.
Hanukkah is so past. Christmas is past. Now it's like New Year's. I'm thinking New Year's right now. The branded marketplace, Jimmy, we are connecting right now, Jimmy. We are connecting the best technology companies with all the operators. Every restaurant operator, every hotel operator, everybody who needs technology is connecting on the marketplace with the most incredible tech solutions out there. So if you want to get on the marketplace, Jimmy, just email me at marketplace@brandedstrategic.com. We can onboard you right away if you are a tech company, innovation company, et cetera. And if you are an operator and you want to find a solution that's going to help you solve all your problems out there, go to thebrandedmarketplace.com and all of your dreams will come true, Jimmy.
But Shatsy, this sounds incredible. How much must this cost?
Jimmy, and that's the greatest thing about this thing. We have priced it incredibly well for this inflationary time. We've made it $0 for everybody, Jimmy.
Zero. How are we going to make any money?
Jimmy, you're the finance guy, and I said to you how we can make money, and you said volume. That's what you told me, so I'm going to stick with that. Jimmy, let's go. We got a great show. Right. We don't have a lot of time.
Yes, let's get into it. We do have a great show. Thank you for that shameless self-promotion plug on our marketplace. And now let's jump into the episode. We are thrilled to have our friend and our guest, Mr. Rob Carpenter, founder and CEO of Valyant AI. This is an exciting guest. We've been talking about this space a lot. Rob, we'd love you to take the lead. Give a little introduction and background on yourself, and of course, Valyant.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, to start off, is your marketplace solving all problems? Because I got to tell you, I've got a 2-year-old that's not sleeping through the night. So if you could help me out with that, I'd really appreciate that.
Check that box.
Shatsky, you just come to the house, right?
Yes.
And you
there is
on
nothing,
the baby at 3 a.m.
Nothing the marketplace does not solve.
Hey, well played, Rob. Way to start us off, right? Well played, sir.
I got
well
you
played.
Guys. Yes. Yeah, look, so I'm the CEO and founder of Valyant AI. Started the company 5 years ago. And what we do is we automate order taking in quick serve restaurants. So as you might have heard, there's a little bit of a labor crunch out there. 1.7 million unfilled positions across the hospitality industry right now. So what we do is stick revolutionary, cutting-edge technology into your restaurant, greets customers, answers questions, takes the customer's order, and then submits it directly into the point-of-sale system, making the operators and the employees' lives easier. And along the way, what we see is anywhere between a 5% to 20% increase in top-line revenue. So if you're doing 1 to 2 million a year, you can add 20% to your top line overnight while solving a labor problem.
Wow, that's all I'm going to say. And Jimmy's the finance guy, and I know he's wowing right now. Hey, listen, before we take a really deep dive into Valyant and everything going on there, let's go back to the beginning.
Yeah.
It was 1974. When were you born?
84.
1984 was a cold day, Jimmy.
I'm from Alaska. And it was a cold day.
Mrs. Carpenter didn't feel so good, and she realized, no, just kidding. Let's go back. Is it true? Is it true from my notes here that the idea for Valyant was actually sparked by Rosetta Stone at the British History Museum? Because I got to tell you, my wife, Jillian, has been using Rosetta Stone to speak Italian. And by the way, Still very little Italian coming out of it. So give me a little bit of the background story. Rosetta Stone, British History Museum. Tell me about this. How did it get started? What happened?
Yeah, man. So I was in the British History Museum looking at the Rosetta Stone, important piece of human history, helped us translate ancient hieroglyphics. And it's got a bit of a conflict-based background. It was stolen by the French under Napoleon. They got into a fairly epic naval battle with the British, and the British kicked their asses and took the Rosetta Stone from them. So you fast forward to 2021, and there's a lot of people out there that are unhappy that the British are sitting on the Rosetta Stone. So as a result, there's not really a lot of information about it in the British History Museum. So the core initial idea for Valyant, which we will eventually get to, is the idea of automating customer service in physical locations. So what the very first version of Valyant's product was effectively a holographic employee. So imagine a transparent OLED display, which is effectively a piece of glass merged with a flat screen TV, and we render a 5.5 foot tall digital person. And her name was Holly, and she could blink her eyes and lean in. And the idea was that she could carry on a conversation with you. Depends.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. I'm just thinking.
So the core idea here is that she could sell you a cheeseburger. She could check you into your hotel room. She could give you information to get around a college or hospital campus. She could help you check out at the grocery store, you name it. We thought at the time that conversational AI was a solved problem. So we're like, hey, we'll grab the tech from Google, Amazon, IBM, we'll slap it into the holographic employee, and we'll roll out this really cool technology to the market. As we look around, there is not holographic employees or automated customer service in many places. And that's because this technology is extremely hard. So we pivoted the business because if we were ever going to be able to bring this holographic employee to market, we would first have to solve the problem of conversational AI. So we've effectively spent now the last 4.5 years hyper-focused on solving conversational AI. And right now it's for restaurants. Eventually we want to roll it to hospitality in general, and then we would look to, in the future, take it to additional industries beyond that.
I love it. There's a lot there to unpack.
A lot there, Jimmy.
I gotta tell you, I love the way this direction is going. And Schatz, you were dabbling in programming voice AI and stuff. Weren't you doing that as a hobby?
Oh yeah, of course. That's my side gig. I love it.
Yes, it's your side hustle. Listen,
hey, are you looking for a job? I mean, we're always trying to hire smart people.
Well, you came to the right place, baby.
Schatz, you're fully engaged with Brandon. Okay, listen, there's a line we use often as it pertains to hospitality tech, and that it's really the importance of a company that is solving real problems as opposed to a company or a product that is in search of the challenge or the opportunity. You know, you had one of those moments when you realized, in terms of the problem with AI, with your hologram, was not actually a solved problem. What was your aha moment when you decided to pivot the company to conversational AI? You talked about the hologram, and now you're doing conversational AI. What was your aha moment?
Yeah, our aha moment was, wow, it really sucks to talk to this thing.
Very reality based.
Yeah. It's like, okay, if I'm very, very specific and say I want a cheeseburger and a Coke, it had about a 70% accuracy rate.
Maybe Holly didn't like you. Was it possible?
Very possible. Yeah. I think after we kept harassing her for not getting our orders correctly. So we spent about 6 months, like just really grinding, trying to fine tune that sort of quote unquote off the shelf technology. And we really just came to a roadblock where we felt like we had really pushed what the current version of the technology was capable of. And it was a long ways away from a production ready product. So it was either, hey, pivot from this entirely and go somewhere completely different, or really double down and figure out conversational AI. And there's a couple of really key pieces of technology that exist under the surface. And so effectively, we took on building all those key pieces to the system ourselves.
Unbelievable. So listen, Rob, I mean, robotics and AI, we hear the words a lot. We hear them thrown around a lot. AI, we hear thrown out all the time. Look, it's in its earliest stages. It's breaking into hospitality now. Certainly robotics have been around in a lot of industries. AI has been around in a lot of industries, but we've never really seen it in hospitality. And everyone is talking about robotics and AI in hospitality. For many of our listeners out there, I'm sure that this is completely foreign, that there is robotics and AI in hospitality at all. So can you walk us through a little bit of the life cycle of an order and how the cliff notes, the simple, don't get too technical now, of how it works? I'm in my car and I said, I'm hungry. I want a burger. Take it from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So customer who wants that delicious burger will then pull into the drive-through. The presence sensor that's underneath the concrete will sense that the car is there. And then we have a patent pending piece of technology called the NX1A that we install directly into the restaurant. And it hooks.
Wait, what was it called? I'm writing it down.
NX1A.
Jimmy, is this breaking news?
I'm not sure if you broke the news, but let's go for it. Why not? Because I got to tell you, the NX1B was not so good. The NX1A, much better.
I had the B, Jimmy. I hated it. I returned it immediately to Amazon.
Point.
Yes, I apologize. Go ahead. NX1A is the best.
Obviously the best on the market. And so then the NX1A senses that a customer's there. So it'll say, hey, welcome to the restaurant. I'm your automated order taker. Order when you're ready. And the customer will say something like, I want a double checker burger. That audio then flows into our system and three really key things happen. And one of the core uses of AI in our company is speech to text. So we take those audio or wave files from the customer, the AI analyzes it, and it outputs text. That text then flows into our natural language processing system, which then adds intents. In this case, it's add one checker burger with a modification of a double, and then it submits that into our natural language generator. But you could also think of it as just the brain or the common sense engine. And so then the common sense engine is going to say, okay, this customer wants a checker burger with a modification of double. Do we serve that product? Is it the right day part for it? Do we have that product in stock? Is there a missing component to that? Like in this use case, maybe I need to ask you if you want to add cheese or bacon to it. Or maybe I need to say, hey, do you want to make it a combo? Or do you want to make it a large combo? Or would you like to add a drink? There's a lot of branching pieces of logic that go out from there. And then all of that happens in that natural language generator. So let's say in this case, it just wants to upsell you a combo. So then the natural language generator will output text. Would you like to make it a medium or large combo? We convert that back to audio. We send that back to the headset system so that the employee is able to hear everything the customer and the AI are saying to each other. And then we send it out to the speaker in the drive-through. And let's say in this example, the customer says, sure, I'll take a large. Can I also have a Coca-Cola? And that's it. And that audio all flows back to the brain. The brain then injects that order into the point of sale system. It gets a total from the point of sale system, structures it on its own into a sentence, and then sends that back to the customer. Well, it'll say, great, I have a double checker burger with a Coke, large combo. Your total is $9.61. Please pull forward and pay at the window. And you have now automated that entire transaction.
And how long does this all take? It sounds like this is 20, 30 minutes.
God, that's one of the joys of drive-through is if you're not under 2 minutes, you're getting frustrated phone calls from
So
people.
All this is happening within seconds?
Yeah. Each component of the system, and there's probably about 10 core systems under the surface that touch a transaction, a individual, let's say, intent of a transaction. So every little component that I talked about has to do their specific tasks in about 200 to 300 milliseconds.
So let me ask you this.
Was it hard? Yes, it was hard.
Yeah, no, it sounds hard. But like when I go to my house and I say, like, Alexa, play something on Spotify, is it like that or it sounds like way more complex than that?
It is miles more complex than that. So Alexa, Siri, Google Home, they're good generation one analogies where you ask it one thing.
Are they using the NX1A or B? That's the question, right?
they will be using the NX1A.
Okay.
I like that.
Okay.
Mic drop.
Well played. Yeah, so this is way more intense than me saying what time is it or what's the weather to Alexa.
Way more contact. Way more.
It sounds it. Awesome.
Yeah, because in this situation too, I mean, you end up with a huge number of situations where you don't have all the information you need from the customer. So in that situation, the AI is actually dynamically generating anywhere between 1 and 10 follow-up questions that it has to ask you to be able to just complete the core order and submit it. So you're carrying huge amounts of context. You have colloquialisms, you have local slang, local dialects. Right. Mm-hmm. All of that has to flow to the system, and you have to do each component in a couple hundred milliseconds, and you have to be just as fast overall as an employee, and you need to raise average, check sizes, and you got to make sure you show up for every shift. So it's it's almost like pressing the system into a diamond. You're getting pressure from every single angle to make this singularly perfect product to solve this very complex problem.
Whenever I ask Alexa anything, by the way, it always follows up with, do you need more toilet paper or more paper towels for some reason? It's always like, oh, it's time for more toilet paper.
That's just
just wanted to throw that out there.
That's just
we're the start of that flow, if you will, when we're like, hey, do you want an extra apple pie?
Right. Okay. There we go. Alexa's always upselling me after I ask the weather.
I was going to say that's just based on your household's constant ordering.
Exactly.
Their predictive analytics guesses that anytime you speak to Alexa chat, your home wants more toilet paper. All right, listen. Schatz and I used to play an imaginary drinking game. It wasn't always imaginary. When we went to trade shows, which is whenever someone would mention the word delivery, we would joke that our table had to do a shot because the fact is delivery, people were obsessed in the hospitality tech space with delivery. Therefore, this drinking game would lead to some very intoxicated audience members. If this game has resurfaced, but this time we really believe the key word right now in the market is labor, and you highlighted it. I don't appreciate that I'm the finance guy and you're taking the numbers away from me, but I will reiterate and share that we agree. There are literally 1.7 million unfulfilled hospitality positions in this country, and 1 in 6 job postings is for restaurant industry specifically. So can you share how Valyant is doing its part to help operators and employees during what is, no joke, a HR crisis?
Yeah, I mean, we had one franchisee literally call us up at like 9 o'clock at night saying, how quickly can we get this in the other restaurants? She was like, I see no light at the end of the tunnel right now from a labor standpoint. She's like, this is the only thing that I see that can help take pressure off of our staff. I mean, we had one restaurant where we were going live and, your traditional QSR will have anywhere between 4, 5, 6 people on staff. There were 2 people that showed up that day. So it is an absolute existential crisis to the restaurant industry right now, because what happens in that situation, not only are you short staffed, but you are causing an unimaginable amount of stress for those 2 employees who did show up. And the other massive challenge right now in the industry is you're looking at 150 to 300% annual turnover. And so when you put people in those types of very stressful situations, guess what? They're not going to stick around very long. So if you can do things to make their lives easier, although it'll be still hard to find people, it'll at least be easier to then retain people at that point. So we had one restaurant that we turned this AI on at a few weeks ago, and the employees were literally cheering when we turned on the technology. And they were saying, we never have to talk to customers again. And I was like, whoa, settle down. That is not true. Like, you still have to interact with customers at the window. But they were very excited to have this automation in their restaurant. And they've turned into, as a group, the biggest proponents for this technology because it does fundamentally make their lives and their jobs easier.
Well, that's incredible. So let's talk now, because anytime you bring in new tech, new innovation, you got, AI, robotics, the things we're talking about. Anytime you bring this in, it's always difficult for one side. Everyone doesn't always get it. I remember when pay at the table years and years ago, we were trying to bring it pay at the table, and just, it just wasn't there yet, and the customers weren't. Our servers were loving the idea, and the customers just were like, "Well, I'd pay at the table. What are you talking? It's just no way." So when it comes to this technology, is it being embraced by the customers at the drive-through? No problem. Or are they like, well, I don't want to talk to this Holly. This doesn't sound like a person. Is that okay? Or is that a headwind there? Or are the employees embracing it? No problem. Or are they like, wait a minute, they're going to get rid of me. You're replacing me. I don't want to do this. Like, are you seeing any headwinds, or is everybody embracing this? Are the employees saying, this is great, this helps me out, this makes my job easier? And are the customers saying, this is great, this makes my life and my drive-through experience better? Like, what are you seeing on both sides? It was a 2-part question. Yeah,
the employees and the operators are obviously huge proponents for this technology because it benefits.
They're not thinking, I'm not gonna have a job next week after Holly takes my job.
No, not at all. Nobody wants to work the window. I mean, that's a very hard job to do because half your time is spent taking orders. 40% of your time is processing payments.
Well, I've seen pictures. People are jumping through, like grabbing people, like yanking them out that they didn't get the right burger or something. So I could see why.
Yeah,
it's a good thing you were wearing a mask that day. Otherwise, you would have been in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, yeah. I can see that.
It's a huge challenge, right? And we're also talking about, remember, effectively every restaurant is at least somewhat understaffed. And so the employee's not saying, oh, this is going to take my job. The employee's saying, thank God I don't have to do 9 jobs today. I can just focus on doing 4 jobs today. So we're not automating a position. We are automating a task, and we are taking a time-consuming task that is usually shared amongst all the employees off their plate. And so now they can focus on making food. They can focus on the in-person interactions with customers at the window, processing payment, and it makes the whole process flow easier. Now, if there is headwinds, I would say it's definitely from a small majority of customers that use the system. And I think we can use something like self-checkout as an analogy, right? If you go to a grocery store, some percentage of customers are going to prefer self-checkout, some percentage are going to prefer in-person, and the vast majority just want whatever is faster. And we'll pick lines based on where they don't have to wait. And
I by the way, I love the self-checkout, like at CVS they have it, except for when it says like, help is on the way. Help is on the way. Like it starts blinking. I'm like, I didn't do it. I made that. And that's why I'm like, this would be a lot easier. But yeah, I love the self. Jimmy, do you like the self checkout? I love it if I can use it. No,
I love it, but I have no issue with the self checkout. But then again, I'm not sticking lifesavers in my pockets and trying to steal candy, Schatz. That's where you get.
Whoa, hey, oh, what do you say?
That's where you get in trouble.
Is that so? It's not the self checkout. It's the detector, the door, the metal detector, knowing that I stole something.
It's saying that they don't have a get a candy bar free with your purchase of toilet paper.
So so self checkout you actually have to pay. I had no idea.
Every item.
That makes a lot of sense, Jimmy. Okay, now I understand what's going on. So it is like self checkout with what you're doing then, yeah?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And it's just taking pressure off the staff and the employees that did show up. And so I think, really the challenge is it's an element of communication with the customers. I think on its face, they don't really care and they don't mind. I think there is a nice but misguided sense of loyalty to the employees where they think, oh, if I hate this thing, the bad operator will take it out and the employees won't lose their job. Not realizing that the employees are the biggest advocates. They are chronically understaffed and they are constantly being asked to do 5, 6, 7 things simultaneously, and they just desperately need help.
I tell you, help is on the way. Listen, there's no question, Rob, and your company is a leader in the space, that AI has grown by leaps and bounds. But despite that, clearly there's still, there's a lot of learning, or there's still a steep learning curve, for example, of how to deal with short talk and accents, which you highlighted. And I guess we're still a little ways away from moving to the point where call centers will no longer be needed, or rather will be playing backups. But I guess that's kind of the goal. So what are your thoughts on the timeline for these tech upgrades and the roadmap you see for not just Valyant, but for the conversational AI that Valyant is leading and building?
Yeah, I think for this kind of subcategory of the market, if you will, I think 2021 was an important year for proving out the use case. There's maybe at most 10 to 20 locations that are live, basically across all of us in this space that are taking orders across the country. I would expect that to be in the 500 to 1,000 range next year, and then the 2,000 to 6,000 range in 2024. So this technology is coming. I think it is at a place where it is scalable, and a lot of franchisees and restaurants are starting to adopt this technology. And I think there's a real risk for some brands that if they don't get on this, they are going to miss a huge opportunity, especially if you're saying that 70 to 90% of your business is coming through drive-through, and with the flip of the switch, you can drive top-line revenue by 20%. There's no other technology out in the market that can do something like that for you overnight while also plugging this significant gap in the labor market for you.
Unbelievable. I got to tell you, really super exciting stuff. So listen, last question before we move on to some other stuff. We got to get some breaking news on this podcast because that's what people expect. They listen to this because they want breaking news. What can you tell us? What is in the pipeline? What is happening at Valyant? Can you give us any insight? A couple of brands you're working with. Are you signing any big deals? What's happening out there? What chains are using Valyant? Who just signed up? What can you tell us? Give me some breaking news.
Very subtle,
please.
Schatz. Very subtle.
I like it. Look, I mean, like I said, pretty much every major brand needs to be adopting this technology or looking.
We know who needs to, but who has? That's the question. Can we get some names?
We unfortunately still are not allowed to give out names. I think.
Can I make up a name?
You could definitely make up a name. Go for it.
Burger King has signed on, Jimmy. Wendy's, Burger King, McDonald's, and Chick-fil-A are now using Valyant. Look at that. Breaking news, Jimmy.
And we're already at 10,000 locations. Perfect.
And 10,000 locations. Jimmy, breaking news.
My job here is done. I think I can go home for the day now.
We had one hell of a podcast. We accomplished a lot today.
Yeah, indeed. Look, with a chain that's close to 1,000 units, we've landed a master services agreement that does allow us to go out and sell and sign up all their franchisees.
So 1,000-unit chain in the United States of America.
Yep. And as far
that
as we
is
know,
selling hamburgers. Are they selling hamburgers?
I can't give you any more details.
You see what I did there, Jimmy? You see what I did there, Jimmy?
In trouble.
He read through it though, Schatz. You tried.
Right, it's not pizza. It's not pizza.
You tried to trip him up. All right, Chatsy. Let's cut Rob a break.
All right. We're not getting anything out of Rob today.
We're not investigative journalists here. Okay. Listen, Rob. It turns out that while we started this podcast because we enjoy bringing friends and guests onto the show and asking the questions, we also learned along the way that our guests sometimes have questions for us. So let's kick off our talking back, where we offer our guests the chance to ask us any question they like. Nothing is off the table. The microphone is yours.
What do you guys see as the biggest opportunities and challenges managing the relationships between franchisees and franchisors? Because we've found that to be a very interesting part of the world.
That's a fantastic question. It really is, and particularly because it goes to the restaurant guy, Mr. Schatzberg.
Listen, I mean, we don't have any franchise operation. We own all our stores. But to my understanding of my many years in the business and speaking to franchise operators on both sides, the franchisor and the franchisees, I will say it seems that one problem, is that the franchisor, it wants the franchisees to adopt and embrace certain tech. And that requires sometimes a lot of investment in both capital, on time, on money, and HR, et cetera. And I think sometimes the operators of these stores are pushing back that maybe it should just stay business as usual. Why am I doing this? My business is fine. I don't need this. Is this really going to help me? Am I going to increase my sales? That seems to be a lot of friction, is trying to sell the franchise operators that this tech is necessary for you to continue to grow, to increase your bottom line, be more efficient, et cetera. And I find that to be a contentious point.
Well done, Schatz. I got to tell you, pretty good.
Pretty good.
And despite being the finance guy, I would like to contribute something to that question.
Jimmy, if you didn't contribute, I'd be very upset.
Yeah, just some of my own learnings, spending as much time as I have in the weeds of this space. And like most relationships, you can't paint them all with a single brush or stroke. The relationship between franchisor and franchisee really is different across so many enterprises that we've seen. And one of my observations, and I think it'll play into this conversation, is a lot of innovation has actually taken place at the grassroots or at the franchisee level. And you can go back to the fillet of fish, being created at the franchisee for McDonald's. You can go back to
the foot long, $5 foot long, right?
$5 foot long was created at the franchisee level. And one of the things we're seeing in the tech and innovation space is that where the better relationships exist between the owners or the franchisor and the franchisee, we're actually seeing some leaning on the franchisees to be the ones to be the first one over the wall, test, try, and gain that kind of intel from the grassroots and bring it up. So it doesn't work for every enterprise. It's not the relationship that exists between each franchisor and each franchisee. But I'll tell you, there is no question that a lot of innovation seems to be, certainly now in the tech space as well, is coming from the franchisee. So I really encourage anyone who's listening, tell your franchisees, empower them to go out
out and actually start to test and try, and I'll give them that kind of flexibility or agility, and you'll find there's great value to come up the food chain if you give them that. So there's my 2 cents, but I got to tell you, we've seen a lot of great companies franchisors work with their franchisees in that manner, and it's paid dividends for them. All right,
Jimmy, is it true that you came up with the drive-through idea? Yes or no?
Absolutely not. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
no.
I thought Jimmy came up with that idea.
No. I subscribe to Joe Pesci's theory about drive-throughs, and if you don't know Joe Pesci's theory, go watch Lethal Weapon or Lethal Weapon 2. Okay, crystal ball moment. Now it's time. Here we go. Crystal ball for all our guests. Rob, we're going to ask you to put on your Kreskin or Miss Cleo hat. Predict the future. 2 years from now, how do you see restaurants and dining in relation to hospitality and tech? Restaurants and dining 2 years from now in relation to hospitality and technology.
Holly's working in every restaurant in America.
You mean our future overlord? You have to start somewhere. Look, I was actually going to ask you guys a not too dissimilar question about where you viewed things.
You got your chance, buddy. You asked your question. It's our podcast. You got your question. You asked it. Now Jimmy asks.
It's your world, man. I'm just living in it, buddy. No, look, here's my point is I don't see an immediate solution to these labor challenges. I think they are going to continue. We saw them at 700 to 800,000 unfilled positions before COVID, and we thought that was really bad. And now it's doubled since COVID has hit. So I don't have a clear view of how this labor situation gets better. I'm not saying that Valyant will solve it, but I do think in general, tech will play a significant role in solving it. I was going to ask you guys as well, kind of a question around delivery, as you guys were taking shots and playing your game. I mean, that's a business model that, as far as I've heard, is still effectively unprofitable. And so there has to be some changes there. And so I think we're going to start to see more automation around delivery. And there is a lot of very real work going into that right now. We will see more automation around the customer service interactions. And although it's still also early, I would expect to start seeing more of the in-restaurant robotics. And that could be things like Miso Robotics and Flippy, that's being tested at White Castle right now. That could be something like Chowbotics. Being in the restaurant tech space, I'm meeting a lot of people that are working on these types of solutions. I don't know in the beginning there's going to be one end-all, be-all. But I think we're going to start seeing different companies coming up, and they're going to be automating and working to solve different problems in the restaurant so that in 2 years, in my crystal ball, restaurants can start to be run more effectively with a more limited staff that reflects the reality of the hiring environment.
I thought that was awesome, and I know Schatz is so excited to jump into the best segment of the Hangout on every single episode is this quickfire. But I just want to comment because Rob, I think what you said there was really important. We agree with you. We think the labor game has been lost. It's and I know that sounds defeatist, but the fact is there's never been a decade where I haven't felt we were falling behind in that part of the market. And at this point, I essentially feel it's over. And by that, I mean is we're going to have to figure out, like so many other industries have done, how to quite simply remove human capital, or remove some of the human capital out of the store, let the human capital in the store really become guest ambassadors and really promote the guest experience and automate as many of these tasks as possible. You're taking on one of the biggest challenges in voice AI, but you're going to see more robotics. You mentioned Miso and our friends who run the Flippy. You mentioned we will mention things like self-pour solutions, which would empowering the guest. Shatsy mentioned earlier the BYOD, bring your own device, order and pay. These are all the different pieces of automation and robotics. Some of them really complicated, some of them really expensive, some of them not so much. But at the end of the day, you're going to see a theme, and it's going to be about reduction of labor, because this is over, and now the embracement of tech and innovation is going to have to be there. Schatz, I know I spoke too long. I know you're upset with me.
No. I was just thinking, I can't wait to sit at a restaurant and have Rosie from the Jetsons just come over and serve me. Remember Rosie? Yeah, Rosie from the Jetsons just come over and just bring me whatever I want.
Hey man, they've got them in Japan. They have these little adorable 4-foot tall robots that go back to the kitchen, get your food, and then drive it out to your table.
Well, I got to tell you, that's a perfect opportunity to go right into the branded quickfire. Are you ready, Rob? I'm going to ask you 5 lightning round questions. Don't think too hard. Give us the first answer that comes to your mind. Rob, are you ready?
Yes.
If you were to pick any celebrity, dead or alive, to have as your AI hologram assistant, who are you choosing?
Natalie Portman.
Natalie Portman. Excellent. Where are you getting dinner from tonight?
I'm at a conference right now, so probably a buffet table.
Excellent, excellent. Those conference buffets are delicious. What is your favorite food city in the world?
Denver. I'm totally biased. I think Denver's got a spectacular up-and-coming scene. It's not as well known as a place like New York, but there are some really phenomenal chefs in Denver making incredible food.
I'm sure there are, but I'm going to say you are the first guest in 5 seasons to say Denver.
Heck
Look
yeah,
at
man.
Jimmy. Is that breaking news, Jimmy?
Everybody's got to be original, buddy.
Yes.
That is breaking news.
You got
Denver.
your news. You got your news, Shatsy.
Favorite food city in the world. Where is your favorite place to travel? Denver. Did you say Denver again? Well, that was me. That was me, everybody.
It was a little bit of an echo. My favorite place is Fiji. So I'm a certified scuba diver, and it is the
You
best
redeemed yourself, by the way, with Fiji over the
planet.
Denver, the best food city. No offense to Denver.
Hey, you're going to have
a lot of heat on that Denver, by the way.
Why are you picking on Denver? Denver's
I don't know. I just never heard someone say it's a favorite food city was Denver. Fiji's a good one for a favorite place to travel, though. Hey, listen, if you were to challenge Jimmy or I to a game of rock, paper, scissors, who would you have better odds of beating?
Jimmy.
Oh, whoa! What do you? Right, just Jimmy like that? I didn't even get a chance to even think.
With authority.
Wow! Final answer.
Final answer.
Final answer, Jimmy. Are you not good at rock? Jimmy.
I saw that question and I was thinking to myself, do I want to be chosen as the person to beat or not the person to beat? I got to tell you, I'm okay with being chosen the person to beat. I think Rob thought of all the games that he could beat me at. He chose one that was admittedly a little simpler. I think if it was any game of more skill than that, he was choosing you as the answer. Starting with checkers. If the question was checkers, I think he was choosing you. But okay.
I agree. He'd probably have Holly play. If it was checkers, he'd have Holly.
I was just worried you were going to pick arm wrestling, and I thought you'd hurt me. So I was going to a simple one.
Oh, yeah. Good point.
All right, guys, listen, Rob, we want to thank you so much for joining us and sharing your great insights on the podcast today. We appreciate your hard work for the industry. You are taking on some big challenges and you're doing great things. And we can't wait to hear the big news you have coming up on the multi-unit operator. And we look forward to making sure our listeners know about that. If you want to get
White Castle, is it White Castle?
Moving on. If you want to get in touch with Rob directly,
I plead the fifth.
you can email us at podcast@brandedstrategic.com, and we'd be happy to make that introduction for you. To our listeners, and this is heartfelt and sincere, we want to thank you so much for taking the time to tune in with us. We know there are literally hundreds of thousands of podcasts out there, and the fact you choose to hang out with us, it means a lot. And Shatsy, it's really hard to believe that we're wrapping up. This is our final episode of season 5. Unlike your favorite TV shows, which take a lengthy hiatus, we ain't that special. We're coming right back. We'll be back with season 6 starting next week.
Wait a minute, Jim. I got to speak to my agent. This is ridiculous.
We're kicking off
next week.
We are at 22, baby. Shatsy, enjoy your festivities for New Year's. Be safe, and then make sure you come to work ready to play because we are kicking off next week. First episode, season 6, 2022. We already have a great lineup of guests, including Alonzo Castaneda from the Savory Restaurant Fund, Stephen Kamali from the Hospitality House, Lindsay Hole from Dispatch Goods, and many more.
Those are some big names, some good stuff over there. Interesting.
It's going to be a great season.
Hey, Jimmy, before we wrap this up, can I just, Rob was kind enough to give a great offer, and I think that everyone listening would like to know the offer.
I didn't. Yeah. I was unaware of that.
Yes, well, Rob was probably unaware of it as well. But Rob has agreed to the first 100 callers or anyone who emails us, they will get their very own AI Holly installed in their home to do any type of any type of tasks in their home. So you can just sit at the table and you can just order, and Holly brings it out somehow. I don't know how it works, but all I know is First 100 callers get Holly AI in their house to use voice-enabled ordering in their home.
And quick, call now while the lines are still open because it's going to go fast.
Yes, the lines are still open, so call right now. And use order code Rob Carpenter.
Well, you can't beat that now, can you? Look at that, finishing the season 5, the finale with a big gift.
Big gift.
Yes, please call now. That's it. Guys, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss out on any of the exciting guests we have coming in season 6, or better yet, invite a friend to hang out with us the next time. Until then, this is Jimmy Frischling, your finance guy, giving a hearty thank you to Mr. Rob Carpenter from Valyant and passing it to my boy Shatsy to bring us to a close.
I'm going to go one more. Is it McDonald's? All right, he's not telling us, Jimmy. We're getting nothing. Hey, listen, thank you, Rob. Thanks, everybody, for joining us on the Hospitality Hangout. This is Shatsy, a.k.a. Restaurant Guy, signing off. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.